The hardest part of being an author, I think, is finding someone in publishing who believes in your work as much as you do, especially these days when what is popular and trendy at this exact moment isn't necessarily what I do. And I always was told that you should never write for market trends for a few reasons. One, your heart won't be in it, and two, by the time your book is ready, the trend could be over. So here's hoping that the latest trendy trend is over soon.
Hello again, Bree Augustine, answering question number 7. What's the most challenging part of being an author, and how do you overcome those challenges? The most challenging part for me is rejection. There is so much rejection before you become an author, when you're an author. It's just a part of the entire process. You think you can handle it, but there's days where you get a rejection and you just want to crawl into a hole. How I handle that is I let myself be upset for a little bit, and then I decide, is this what I want to do? Why am I writing? And the answer is usually because I love it, and then I get right back at it.
I have two pieces of advice. One, don't be so devoted to one of your characters or stories that you refuse to write anything else. One of the reasons it took me so long to become an author is because I had so much love and faith in one project that I spent years editing and rewriting, and then editing the rewritten drafts. It's all I ever thought about or tried to work on until one day I was so tired of the rejection letters and almost gave up. Luckily, my wife was there to convince me to try something new, and that's what got published. My second piece of advice is don't give up when people tell you that you can't do it. Sometimes people are mean, as was the case in my high school. I had trouble reading when I was a kid, but there was a lot less help for kids like me back then. I wasted a lot of time hating reading. Homework was not an easy time for me or my parents. But once I started reading and then writing, my life really gained meaning. I finally had a purpose and a goal, and if kids made fun of me for thinking I could be a published author someday, they just became unflattering characters in my stories. Well, many of us have to have another career or job to make sure we can pay the bills, but if I had my choice, I'd be a counselor of some kind. People naturally seem to talk to me anyway, and I could get a better understanding of the human character through those conversations.
So I think this is a cool question. If you weren't an author, what would your career be? Well, I've had other careers before I was an author and while I was an author. So I was a science teacher for 14 and a half years, a middle school science teacher for an online school called CTY Online, the Center for Talented Youth for Johns Hopkins University. So I love science. So I'd probably be a teacher. But if I could be anything, so my research lately has taken me to NASA. I have been able to go behind the scenes at NASA's Johnson Space Center. I got to see the Neutral Buoyancy Lab. I got to meet the robot Valkyrie that they are creating as a prototype. One day, possibly she will go to the moon. I got to meet the Artemis II astronauts. I got to go to NASA Kennedy Space Center, and there I got to see the vehicle assembly building, which was so amazing. But I've also gone to aquariums. I mean, I think it would be a toss-up between being an engineer and creating robots, or doing something with in space, because there's so many different ways that you can work for NASA and are all these different companies and go to space. So I would love to be an engineer. Or I would probably be an aquarist at an aquarium and get to work with animals. Because I love sharks, I love dolphins, I love whales, jellyfish, all of these different things. So I'd probably be either or. Although, there's still so many different careers out there. I'd have to think about it. So I'm curious what your top three might be. Maybe you guys should have that discussion amongst yourselves.
Hello again, Legit Kidlit, Ree Augustine, answering question number 16. What's your favorite thing about being an author, and what do you enjoy most about creating stories for kids? My very, very favorite thing is connecting with readers, and it might not be me personally, but I'm hoping that my story is a connection and that they feel connected to the world. What do I enjoy most about creating stories for kids? I think it's a little selfish on my part because I love that period of innocence, and it allows me to reconnect to that period of innocence. So that to me is, I'd like tapping into that. I'd like tapping into seeing the world as a completely brand new place.
All right, my favorite thing about being a writer is the freedom to be able to express myself. When I have to write for work, I'm being told what to write, and I don't mind that. But when I am writing for myself, writing fiction for myself, I have the freedom to explore characters. I have the freedom to explore themes. I have the freedom to explore hard topics any way that I want to and in any mode that I want to. So the freedom is the biggest thing. I love the freedom that being an author gives you.
I just love the thought of doing something good in this world by putting out wholesome, non-controversial stories. I also love the thought that my work might be inspiring reluctant readers to pick up a book and maybe become the next generation of authors as well.